Greetings, welcome to the channel. My name is Warren and we're going to be talking branding. Today's video is all about the 10 must-haves for a high quality website from the seller's point of view. So stay tuned as we watch along. Yes, in today's digital world, it is important for everyone, every brand to be on the internet, to have a representation of themselves on the internet. And we do this by means of a website. Yes, your brand needs to be on a website. But just to have a website isn't enough. There are certain things you need to look out for, these must-haves that are very important, especially for the future. Before we get into it, it's a quick word from our sponsor. Thanks to our sponsor, you can receive up to a 10% discount on your travels here to Cape Town, South Africa. When booking, please use the word knightspromo to see what percentage you can qualify for discount. Yes, before laying out that website that you so desperately need, you need to consider what you want to achieve. What is the goal of the website? Is it to educate your clients or customers? Is it to be a magazine so that they can look through and see what products you have, your previous work? Is it to introduce them to suppliers that you have? Is it to offer services, to educate? Why do you want a website? Only once you've decided why you want or need a website, because you definitely need one, then you can curtail it to being something of benefit for you, something that can complement your brand. Yes, you might already have that flag up at work, big signage on your building, an email with a signature, business card. Each of them serve a purpose. Your website needs to serve a purpose as well. You need to consider, what do you want to achieve? Must they buy something there, book something there? Is it a blog that you're trying to inform people about? Or are there offers that they can go look somewhere and they can buy something else, as with affiliate links? Yes, your website needs to have a purpose, and you need to decide as the brand owner what it needs to be. And of course, once you've decided what you want to achieve with your website, you need to decide who you're going to achieve it with. It's no good just setting up a website and hoping somebody's going to come along and find it. You need to decide who the perfect client or customer is. We call that an avatar. It is a specific sex, specific age, race, education, anything that differs one person from another. Now, you might be targeting male and female between certain ages. So your website needs to represent that. You need to show it in a way that it specifically targets them. Do you know who your customer is? Have you analyzed your business to say, my client that walks in the door, or that email that happens, or my phone call that I get, it is normally from such a person or such a type of people? Maybe you don't deal directly with customers. Maybe you deal with merchants. Maybe you deal with other operators. You need to think, who do I deal with? Because that's the person you want to target. Who is your customer? Who do you need to target? When developing a website, the number one factor that always gets affected for any brand is budget. What is this website going to cost me? Now, it can cost you anything from little to a major amount, from a couple of thousand to hundreds of thousands. It all depends on the need of you and your brand. If it's at all possible, you'd like to tend towards the cheaper side of budget because there's no reason to waste money. But be careful getting somebody inexperienced that doesn't know what they're doing, somebody that's still in college or university, or that cousin that sets it up. Rather go for somebody with years of experience that understands what a 2020 website needs to be. Evaluate that person. See what work they can do. See if they fit in with your brand. Your brand's what needs to be built, not theirs. Your website needs to be built. So your costs can depend on many things. For instance, do you need an e-commerce website? Or can you settle for a normal website? Is it a blog? Are there videos on it? How big the domain has to be? Now, talking about a domain, there are two factors when you actually acquire a website. One, you got to pay for the domain, and two, you pay for a place to host it. There are many places to host it and many companies that can do either or both at the same time. It is your choice who you want to go to and how much you want to pay. The absolute must is to have a website name, a domain name that matches your brand. You want to also keep it as compact and as short as possible. Easy for people on mobile to type in, for people to remember. If we think about it, look at Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Pinterest, short, all of them. Apple, Microsoft, short. Not long names. It's not Microsoft Computer Services and Specialists. It's not Apple overpriced computers and cell phones. No, it is short, to the point. Why? Because it's easy to remember. So your brand needs to be easy to remember. That URL, website name, needs to be your brand. Not Wix, not WordPress, not some free thing that's sitting there that with a long name behind it. No, it needs to be just your brand, registered in your name. Now, a trend that I've seen here in South Africa is for people to save on costings. They hire or pay monthly for their website. Now, I think this is absurd that you'd pay every month to have your website on the internet instead of paying for it upfront outright. Because what the developer does is he puts it in his name, and so he owns your brand, and you can't change developers. You have to go with him, and when you want to change your website, you have to go with him. You never want to be locked in. You might not like his style after 2 years, but now you're stuck because he owns your domain name. You must own your domain name, not him. Yes, we've been speaking about your brand, mentioning it several times. But what is your brand? Your brand, in many instances, you could, with a small company, you'd say you are your brand because it's a sole proprietor, one person in the company. Maybe he's a bookkeeper and he hires himself out in his brand. And yes, he is part of his brand, but he isn't actually the brand. Your brand is everything people see about you. And how people see you is how you brand it, not how you see yourself. A lot of people think they're a good driver. Other people look at them and they go, they're not a good driver. What does your brand tell you? What do other people think of your brand? Now, your brand is recognizable. Is there a defined, perfect image, a logo that is used for your brand? Something that if somebody saw, like a tick, they'd immediately know that that's you. Have people recognized it in the past? Do your clients know what it is? Do they know who they're dealing with by simply seeing your brand? Or do they still wonder who this is until they see your name? Your brand encapsulates everything. Your font of your logo, be it if it's a written word and not an actual logo. Your brand could, like Facebook, just be an F. That is something common. Or Facebook also has Facebook written up. So your brand can have different versions of the same thing, but you don't want to have too many different things, too many different colors. You want all your profiles to be the same. So whatever brand you have on your letterhead, whatever brand you have on your business card, you want to take that same brand and you'll put it on your website. Why? Because across all platforms, across all social media platforms, you want to have your brand, your image recognizable. Now, there are many places to get a logo developed. In future videos, I will show you where you can go and design your own type of logo, or you can hire people to design one for you. There are places locally you can hire from, or you can go to a website called Fiverr with a .com and pay somebody a couple of dollars, $20, $50 to go and design a logo for you, a professionally designed logo. You tell them what sizes you want, you tell them how it needs to look, and they make it. You then use this same logo across all your platforms, even going towards branding of clothes, business cards, whatever it is. Your logo is how people recognize you. It's how people recognize your website. It's something that pops up right top left. This is where people look. They read, we're taught in the Western world to read from the left to the right, top down. So you want your logo to be right there on the top. Now, of course, it mustn't be the entire page that they've got to scroll down to just lose your logo. Subtle, but right there. So people can identify who you are and know your meaning of your brand straight away. Naturally, with your brand, it comes with colors and fonts. And your website needs to be the same, uniformity. Your website has to have color and font. Now, a good reading size font is size 16. It works well on mobile devices and well on a screen. But it'll only work well on a screen if you're using colors that are easy to read. Consider if you put a red background with yellow writing. How difficult would that be to read? Don't just look at your website and say, this is my color of my logo, these 5 colors, whatever it is, and say, well, now my website needs to be these same 5 colors. No, you want to think of a darker background, charcoal, or a dark color. Look at the ones that are there. Microsoft, blue, gray. Look at Facebook, blue, darker colors. So if you go with such colors and then you use normal colors, normal writing, and your headers you have matching, it creates uniformity, it creates something easy to read. But the bulk of your text, you want that to be a standard font, Arial, easy to read, not difficult. Short paragraphs. Your font is important. Your color scheme is important. Now there are color platelets out there to find which one I'm supposed to be using, and they're great to use. And they are something you'd want to discuss with the person that's going to build your website. But there's something you need to consider beforehand. Don't leave those decisions up to somebody else. You, as the brand owner, need to decide, what color am I using? Now, say on your letterhead, the top part is blue. Does this mean all the writing on your website needs to be blue? Absolutely not. That would be difficult to read. Your titles, your menu, maybe a button, that would be blue. The rest you put in a standard black, which is easy to read. And of course, if you think of almost every single book you pick up, the paragraphs are justified. Both sides are level, flat, not left side up against the boundary and the right side kind of ends wherever it ends. No, both sides are equal. That's called justified. So it is very important on your website, when you developers making it, to go and make everything in paragraphs justified. It's much easier to read and very important to have. Yes, an image or a photo or a picture, it speaks 1,000 words. Yes, having the right images on your website is a huge part of the impression you will give people. your images, your videos, what you want to tell, your story. If you have a workshop, wouldn't a nice header, that top image, be of what somebody would see when they walk into your workshop, with some old vehicles parked there that's being worked on? Or maybe you're a tour guide and the top image is the best place where you are. For us, Cape Town, Table Mountain would be the best place. So as a tour guide, maybe you'd have Table Mountain across the top. Or maybe you specialize in safari tours. So there's a photo of you or one of your customers kneeling down with a cheetah. Think of the impression people will get. Now, it is ideal to use your own photos. It is secondary to use stock photos because other people might also be using it on their websites. But whatever, make sure you use royalty free. Now, you want to always examine the size of these photos. These modern day cameras can take massive files. You would not want to put this file on your website. We always got to be considerate of those that are on a slower network or a slower device. We want our page to load quickly, so we wouldn't want to put cumbersome too many pictures on it. We want to create a gallery, so you pick your best ones that are high quality, that are compressed. There are tools in WordPress that compress images, or there are websites, tinypng.com, that can compress an image, make it small so that it's easy for your website to display, easy for viewers to get. Tell your story with images. Of course, the other side is text. You can't have a website without text. You need to have that text that explains what your website is about, so somebody can read it. Now, that text is called copy. You get a copy editor, a copywriter, they go through that text, but it's up to you as the owner of the brand. Yes, it's up to you to put that text down, for you to formulate what that page is about. You can get somebody else to proof it and read it and make sure it's right and spelt right, but it needs to be your words. It needs to be your ideas, because the client needs to see your brand, not somebody else's. And make sure the words you use are idiot proof. You might be a lawyer and you might lay out your website with all the biggest lawyer terms that you could possibly imagine. For the rest of us, we would come along and not understand what the website's about. We wouldn't know if you're the person to help us because we don't speak that language. Maybe you've got parts. Maybe you're an engineer. Those parts might have codes or proper names. Use them because it's important for Google to find them and assign them to your website. But make sure you use language that can be understood by the common man, understood by people that are not an engineer. You're looking at about 600 to 700 words per page. That is the ideal reading size that Google likes, that search engines like. And break it up into certain paragraphs, small, easy little bite-sized paragraphs to read. Make it pleasant for your customers, your clients. They come, they see a big picture, they see a header, they see a paragraph. Maybe one or two little pictures, a paragraph. It is easy for them to find and follow what's happening on that page. When you're discussing something, then you have the box underneath that complements that something. This is how you build a website. So make sure you write the copy. You can get it edited, but make sure you write that copy. Your words, your brand. That's what's important. Yes, just like with the current virus that's going around, and there's a certain amount of space we want between ourselves and the next person. In a car, you want a certain amount of space you're comfortable with between one car and another, and a lot of people get upset. Now, in South Africa, a motorbike is allowed to run up the middle, but people get upset because it gets too close to their car and they feel they're invading their space. Well, think of that on your website. You've got 3 images right back next to each other. They're invading each other's space. Your eye goes from one picture to the next, to the next. It needs space in between. It needs its own little sections with space. Don't be scared to add in space. It makes it easier to look at. Makes it feel better than a very cluttered, built-up website with images and writing right on top of each other, and you just don't know where to look, and you end up going away because it's not a good experience. Space is important on a website. And of course, we don't live in that box age. Those days are gone. 2020, 2012, 20, whenever already, we moved to a full screen. You must make sure your website is full screen, 100%, not in a box. Because if you're in a box, when you drop down to a mobile device, well, just consider that size of screen, what your box is going to look like. Whereas if you're at full width, it can correct itself. We will discuss that later. So make sure your website is full width. Make sure whatever template, wherever the developer makes it, he builds it in a way that it fits across the entire screen, no matter the size of the screen. Now, when we're thinking about right at the beginning, what do you want to achieve with your website? Well, no matter what you want to achieve, you want your visitors to come to you. So you most definitely want a contact page. On that page, you'll put a contact form, you'll put the pertinent phone numbers and a couple of email addresses for the departments that people need to contact. We are also sitting on the world of mobile. There are billions of people on mobile. And let's face it, even you and I, we're sitting in the lounge, we're watching TV, and we think, oh, what other form was that actor in? Do we go to the computer and go and do a search there to find out what movie they're in? No, we grab our cell phone. It's already in our hand. So mobile is the way to go. So is your contact mobile friendly? Are your buttons clickable for mobile? Especially your email, your phone number. Person's on the road, they need to phone quickly to arrange for a plumber or a carpenter while they're driving home. They're not going to wait to get home. And if they do open the website and they go, oh, look, there's a website, how do I contact, where do I? You lose a client. They'll go somewhere else. Oh, look, I can just one push, I can get to that person. So make sure your contact is easily found. Includes a map of how to get to your location. Maybe your contact could be a booking form, a form that gets information to make a booking, or request a order, request a quote or an estimate, a quote, or maybe even a newsletter. You want them to sign up for your newsletter. All of these ways are there for your clients, your customers, to make contact with you. And of course, if they're making contact with you, make sure you're available to be made contact with and reply to them. Yeah, we've got so much junk, spam, mail, it's unbelievable. The mailboxes are so full. But if you take that contact away, now again, this is a trend here in South Africa. A lot of tour companies, they're trying to limit the amount of people contacting them. So they force you to a form. They take away their emails. And the only number that's there goes to their head office, which isn't even in your region. I just move on. If I was going to look for somebody, I want to be able to contact somebody. I want to click on it and speak to them. Not click on it and end up in a different place and then get told a different number and the wrong email. It gets very complicated. So think about your brand. Think how you want people to communicate with you. Think how people need to communicate with you. Make it simple for people. Make it easy. Quick form. Uncomplicated. There's my phone number. There's my email. Click it. I'm here to respond. Of course, other people put on a little chat at the bottom that they can click on and get instant reply. Now, if you have the facility of somebody sitting behind a desk permanently during working hours, that they can answer those questions as they come in, that's absolutely awesome. Quella Private Game Reserve is just one of those places They're a private safari. You see the big five, they're here just outside of Cape Town. And when you go to their website, there's a box that you can chat to them. Great. As long as you can get somebody to communicate with them, they can sit and do it. But if there's never somebody there, there's no point in putting it on your website. It'll just frustrate people because they can't communicate when you've offered them a place to communicate. So make sure you're available to communicate. Communication is how you educate. Educate is how you sell. Talking about education. Yes, now I can stand on top of a hill with a gramophone and scream at everybody. For one, they're not going to listen. For two, they're going to turn away because they're going to be irritated because I'm trying to force my message down their throat. That is not how you sell to people. That is not how you engage with people. Your website needs to be a two-way radio. To be a two-way radio, you need to encourage engagement, encourage a response, encourage an action. It is important to have some kind of action on your website to get them to respond. Now, how do you educate on your website? You could create an infomercial. You could create videos on how to use your product, the benefits of your product. There is a doctor in America. He makes his own herb type stuff and he sells it on his website. But instead of pushing the medicine, he pushes the benefits of the medicine. So he will describe a certain person with a certain illness or disease, and then he lets you know the side effects and what you need to take, how much you need to take. And he has webinars, and he has that put into a blog, all to educate people. Now, after you've listened to it, you say, wow, that's awesome. Where do I get that? Oh, look, right here, I can buy it also on his website. So he educates people by showing them how they can benefit from his service, from his product. You need to do the same. You need to consider what field you're in so that you can educate people. A good friend of mine, he brews coffee, and he's called Backyard Brewery. Now, coffee's coffee. Now, I'm lucky enough that I like the cheap instant coffee, but there are other people out there that like connoisseur coffee and like a little mug and it's gone, and they're prepared to wait for that to be made. The best way for him to sell his coffee is to educate people about the coffee itself, how it's made, where it comes from, the region it comes from, why it has that certain flavor, why you get a strong coffee or a mild coffee, what to use the coffee. Do you use it as it is, with cream, with sugar? Educating people gets people excited about his coffee. He has a blog and explains things about the coffee, even about a show that's going to come up or a show he's been to, an exhibition, whatever it is, a workshop. He educates people so they understand about his product, his brand. So you need to look at your brand. You need to think to yourself, how do I educate people about my brand? Yes, and of course, as we've spoken about before, everything that we look at both on a computer, on a TV, or on a phone, on a tablet, even on those silly little watches. So we need to make sure that our website is mobile responsive. Now, what does that mean? Now, how websites normally work is you don't tell the screen exactly what size to be. You let it auto adjust itself according to the website. And that's why it's very important to have that 100% size that we spoke about before. Yes, a responsive website means that whether you look at it on a computer, which has a wide screen, or whether you drop down to a tablet or a phone, it will shrink those images to match the device you're on. Or in effect, sometimes it'll put the image underneath with writing so that you can scroll up on your phone. So it's very important to make sure that your website is responsive ready. There are still thousands of websites out there that are not. Thousands that are still, you go to it on your phone and they just don't work. They're not built for a phone. Sometimes it's done on purpose. If you go to a bank on a phone, now the banks that I use, they don't allow you to have a mobile one because it's not safe enough. If you're going to use your phone, you use a mobile app. They immediately will push you to a mobile app because they don't want you there on a phone. But in general, the rest of us, we want to be mobile. More than, it's unbelievable how many people walk around with an appendage stuck to their hand. Yes, that mobile is part of our life and it's going to be until I figure out a way to make it part of our hand permanently. So we need to make sure that our website, our brand, is responsive as well. Size. Consider big thumbs, small words, little buttons to push. It all plays a role. The size and the spacing, the colors that we use on some very high glossy, think of your screen. Consider when you're building a website, go to a few other websites, have a look at them on your phone and think how they respond, how they react. This is what you need to incorporate into your website. Don't take it for granted that it's just going to be examine it. Ask your friends to look at it and say, is this readable? What do you think? Should I make this bigger? Should I make this smaller? And you relay that to your developer so that they can make sure that your website is the responsive it's supposed to be. So to sum up, these 10 points, these must-haves, are something very important for you as an owner of a website. You need to make sure you get these things right. Now, you can always improve on them later. You can always progressively look at your website and find ways, and never think that once you've built your website, it's done. Your website's never done. You always want to be interacting with it, growing with it, adding a new blog. If you're running a special, put it on your website. Whatever you're doing, do it with your website as well. Your website's important to you and to your brand. You need to make sure your font, your images compressed, the right size, the right look, proper navigation. You need to make sure everything on your website is for the experience of the person coming. And it's up to you as the brand owner. It's up to you to make sure it's what you think your brand needs in your colors, in your everything. Your words need to be there for them to read. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please, if you like it, give it a like, follow the channel, turn on the notifications. Thank you for being here, for watching through to the end. Look forward to being with you again as we discuss more about your brand.